done that, and I think it's very powerful.
It is really remarkable. I love that evolution from when there was no MLK Day to now how we see things. Welcome to The Jump. I'm Rachel Nichols. I'm alongside, indeed, NBA coach, our head coach, David Fizdale, and 7-time NBA champion, Robert Horry. Coming up, guys.
Big shot.
Woo! Coming up, James Harden posting a triple-double in his Nets debut over the weekend. He said, it was easy out there. Must be nice. Robert's going to tell us why it may be just a little too soon to just crown flat out the Nets. Stick around for that. First, though, I do want to circle back to the legacy of civil rights icon Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., assassinated, of course, April 4th, 1968, outside of the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee. And Coach, I do want to ask you more about this. While you were coach of the Grizzlies, you made a point of, with your team, touring the National Civil Rights Museum, which is built around the Lorraine Motel.
Yeah.
What stood out to you the most when you were there?
Well, first off, it just moves you immediately understanding the significance of what happened in that moment and understanding what it did to our country, what it did to the black community, what it did for black and white relations in our country. And you feel it, the gravity of it as you pass through it. In that moment there, well, they let us stand in the spot where he was killed. And for me, I think what broke me down was, here I am, a black man. I'm the head coach of the Memphis Grizzlies. And I'm 2 generations removed from a sanitation worker from Mississippi who went through
Your
Jim Crow, my grandfather. And that is who Dr. King was there fighting for, was the sanitation workers. And for some reason, it overwhelmed me. It still overwhelms me now to think about just 2 generations later, what we've accomplished, where we are now. And so the best way we can honor him is to pay that forward and continuing to serve and trying to change the world.
Yeah, for me, that, even though I haven't had a chance to tour that, just watching you in that moment, it gets emotional, especially being a black man from the South, because you see all the trials and tribulations that black people have to go through and what we have to overcome. And it's just so heart-wrenching and so heartfelt that people around the world are really now trying to see what is going on in this country. And I know right now everybody wants this to be full force and to happen now because that's the day and age we live in, but it's going to be baby steps. Just think about it. I just talked about not having MLK Day when I played, now we have one. And hopefully by the time our grandchildren and our children's children have this moment, it is equality. And it's just a moment, we're going to have to be patient, but we're going to have to work towards it, and we not just got to sit back and stay silent, because when you're silent, things don't happen. So we still got to keep our voice and keep that message in front so we can move forward.
Absolutely.
And the celebration of Martin Luther King, of course, also a celebration of so many men and women who have made so much progress pushing this country forward in the battle for civil rights. Clearly still going on today. It's important to recognize just the breadth of the movement, that there were so many people who put their lives, their families on the line because the change had to come. And we have so much respect for all of them, and it's up to all of us to keep doing it. And we'll be talking about it throughout the show today. I do want to get to a little basketball, too, because earlier today, James Harden posting a thread of tweets, guys, thanking the city of Houston, thanking the Rockets organization, saying the city has given me everything I could ask for and more. He goes on to write he's forever indebted to the city and, quote, it's far from a goodbye as I pay all of my debts. As for Harden's future, we did get our first look at him as a member of the Nets alongside KD on Saturday. He had 32 points, 14 assists, 12 rebounds. Oh, by the way, KD dropped 42 after the game. James said, quote, it was easy out there. Harden responsible for 63 points against the Magic when you look into, between third most all-time for a debut in NBA history behind his Rockets debut 2012, Kyrie's Nets debut last season. Kyrie, of course, sat out Saturday's game, and just reported by Woj, Kyrie is also going to miss tonight's game against the Bucks on TNT as he works his way back into playing shape after missing what will now be 7 games due to personal reasons. Robert, James said it was easy. How easy do you expect it to be for the Nets moving forward?
this is one of these projects that you have to wait and see, because when you come to a team for the first time, you're excited.
Yeah.
So you have all this energy, you have all this emotion, and you want to see how this is going to work out in 10 more games. Will you have that same energy and that same emotion, and will your teammates feel the same about you? Because we know James has a tendency to hold the ball and dribble, but when he's doing that and you're losing, how are your teammates going to react? Because right now, this is the honeymoon.
Everyone's happy.
Yeah, everyone's happy. And we want to see how this wedding, this match can be, 20 games in, 10 games in, because that's when the true team is going to emerge. Because right now, like I said, this is the honeymoon. Everybody's happy during the honeymoon.
Well, I think we're not going to see this team lose too much. It's just too much talent. There's too much shooting on the floor. I think you're going to see this team play very well, very fast, and you can see the transition was pretty seamless. Why is that? Mike D'Antoni, maybe?
Yes.
But see, look at this. James Harden making plays off the pick and roll. KD's such a big target. He can hit him out there, get him easy shots. These are cake shots for KD. He don't even have to work for these right here because James Harden draws so much attention. But this is the play. James Harden recognizes immediately that KD has the mismatch. KG swings it to Brown, who is the other. And if they keep making plays like this, that's when they're going to be dangerous. When they don't care who the next guy is and they trust that next guy, they trust the pass. With that much talent, it's going to be very hard to deal with them.
And by the way, that could be Kyrie in the corner next time, eventually, right? I mean, that's the idea. So swing to Kyrie. So you've got a little bit of
Or just switch them all around.
Right.
I mean, it's just going to be like whoever has the matchup, that guy's going to have the ball and he's going to create. And as long as he keeps trusting his guys, good things are going to happen for this team.
Yeah, and we see teams that cruise through a regular season and then at the playoffs it gets harder. What do you think they...
He knows.
I'm being diplomatic. It's a holiday. What do you think, Robert, what is sort of the thing that they have to work on throughout the regular season? Because Fizz is right. There's going to be a lot of nights it's just kind of easy and one ball out there. And so what do they need to work on and sharpen so when they get to those tougher tests in the playoffs, they can be up for them?
It's going to boil down to teamwork.
Yeah.
And it sounds simple, but it is, because Kyrie is a ball handler, and how he's going to react with James handling the ball. And I think KD is the one who's going to sit back, because I think he can realize, hey, I don't have to use that much energy handling the rock. I can come off screens and shoot the ball, but we always talk about the offensive end, but we also have to know they got to play defense, and they lost their three best defensive players. So it's really going to be interesting how they can mix that all together on both ends.
Yeah, because these guys are all capable of playing good team defense. KD especially. Kyrie has done it. James has even done it. I know his reputation, but he's done it if he wants
He
to.
said, I live in Houston.
He just hasn't bought into it that often. Yeah, I'm deferring to the guy with the 7 rings. I want to get to Karis LeVert. Moved from the Nets, of course, to the Pacers as part of that 4-team trade. But news over the weekend, he is out indefinitely after an MRI revealed a small mass on his left kidney during a physical prior to finalizing the trade. Now, the Pacers talked about the fact that they discussed, should we void the deal, right? And Robert Horry, you told the story on Friday's show about you were part of a trade for Sean Elliott when a physical revealed part of his kidney problem, and that deal was voided. The Pacers decided, though, they did want to stick with the trade. Brooklyn sent an additional $2.6 million to Indy to ensure that the deal held up, so I'm sure that helps too. LeVert will undergo further medical tests. Of course, the entire NBA community hopes to see Karis back out on the court as soon as possible, and it is a good sign, not to get into his private medical business, but the fact that the Pacers decided, after seeing his records and seeing the MRI, we don't consider this such a long-term problem. We want to keep him.
Yes.
That's just good to sort of know, as we all think and wish the best for him, that hopefully it's not a super significant life-altering type of thing and he can get treatment, get back on the court as soon as possible. Another team in that deal, the Cavaliers, we learned that they intend to trade or waive 2019 first-round pick Kevin Porter Jr. during an outburst he had Friday after finding out his locker was given to Taurean Prince, who was acquired in that deal. Porter's locker had been moved to a different side. Now, Porter hadn't played this season for unspecified personnel reasons. And we, of course, know that he had a legal incident, that they were trying to get him some help. According to reporting, this was first reported by The Athletic, confirmed by ESPN, that Porter reportedly got into a screaming match with Cavs brass, and threw some food in the locker room. Remember, J.R. Smith threw the bowl of chicken tortilla soup years ago? I don't know what it is about food in the Cavaliers locker room, but there you go. After that altercation, Porter was told to clean out his locker. Other members of the roster were informed he would no longer be on the team. As mentioned, The Athletic first reported this incident. Coach Fizz, what is your reaction to this?
It's sad, because obviously you're starting to see continuous incidents happen, and you hate to see that kind of spiral start to take place with a kid. And, I know as a black coach, you said that term a lot this show already, but as a black coach, knowing what some of these kids go through to get to where they are, and a lot of people don't understand it, but a lot of these kids, and I'm not excusing him for his behavior, but a lot of these kids suffer trauma. When you grow up in a neighborhood where gunshots is ringing out all the time, or the potential for you to get robbed is there all the time, or the police is basically occupying your neighborhood, there's trauma that comes with that. And I can tell you from the standpoint of my own personal trauma, because I lived in a neighborhood like that, and I know where this kid is from. And so it's unfortunate to see him in these circumstances. You hope that people around him can help him and galvanize him and get his career and his life back on the right track to where, because he's super talented. An NBA player is not the question. It's can he can he get all of the other stuff taken care of? And, I know JB and them try to do everything they can for the kid. Hopefully it works out for him.
When these kids come out of college and they have these issues, people sometimes think, oh, he has money, he's in the NBA,
No.
he has this status, that these problems might go away. And this is not always the case. And I think these teams, they don't think like this. They think, I think every team should have a former player or a player that's looked up to on their team. I would recommend, director of player personnel, something like that, where these guys can go to in confidence. I'm not saying a therapist or anything like that, but someone they can go to in confidence, say, yo, I have this issue, I have this problem. So they can talk to someone, so they can have a big brother or a father figure they can talk to, because these guys sometimes need an outlet.
Yeah.
And you have outlets on the court like that when you burst out, because you can't go to someone and yell and scream at them and curse them out. I even tell my kids, some days, if you want to be a friend, you need to let some things out. Do it, because once you get it off your chest, you're going to feel better, then we can solve the problem.
Right. And teams do have those resources now, more so than when back in the day. But it's also up to the players sometimes to take advantage of them. And as you point out, guys can be a little closed off about that stuff because they've dealt with so much.
Trust issues. Some of these guys are they don't trust anybody to tell anybody anything. And what he's talking about is really important. I really spent a lot of time with the Knicks, bringing back all of the former Knicks, trying to get them talking to the guys, engaging with them about their experiences, their ups, their downs, the pitfalls of the game, things that can happen at home, things that can happen with family. And so that is a critical part of our job for these young guys. And hopefully, again, can we get him back and get him on track to be a good professional and live a good life?
Well, we will keep watching that one. All right, coming up, Zion Williamson played a little bully ball against on the Daily. Make bully ball, Pelicans, Kings. Check out Zion moving bodies around, then throwing down a huge dunk along the baseline. I could not get enough angles of this last night. He just floated that thing. I mean, this is what we wanted from him, right? That combo, Rob?
He's on a roll like this. This is what you want. It's a oh my gosh moment, because the dude is so dynamic. He just tacks the basket, and you're like, wow, man, get out of the way.
That was one of those weak side help jobs where that guy goes, oh, my bad, man. I got you next time. That's like, I can't get there. My bad.
Later,
got stuck.
But this guy, this is what he was built for here.
Right. This is a fun game to watch. Miss, bad shoulders, Pacers, Clips. Paul George throwing down the huge slam in the first quarter. So, Coach, this is the best Paul George has looked since?
When he was in OKC. He was third in MVP voting, and he's starting to show that he's got a chip on his shoulder. I think the whole thing with Devin Booker got him going, all the criticisms about him in the playoffs, and he's starting to show people. Why y'all always trying to show clips where I was on the bench? I don't like this crap. Bird, I did not tell him to do that.
Hey, PG is doing his thing right now. A lot of guys are going to still wait and see what he's going to do in the playoffs, because, he calls himself playoff P, so we still waiting, P.
That's the key.
Well, we'll talk a little bit more about the Clips later in the show, but he looked good last night. Make Globetrotters. Let's get a little Bulls-Mavs action here. Luka Doncic going behind the back 2 times for the dish. He had 36, 16, and 15 in a 16-point home loss to the Bulls. So, Rob, Is it a bad omen for Dallas that he plays that well and they don't win?
Yes, it is. Yes. The thing about when you have your best player on your team playing this good and you get no help, it's going to be a long season. And guys should step up because the better he plays and you win, he gets MVP. Help a brother out. Please help him out. Let's go.
Hey, I think they're going to be fine.
Yeah, I know you like this one.
I like this Dallas team. I think they're going to be just fine. Crap happens.
Yeah, you have those nights. Miss Boredom, Ja is back. The entire NBA got better this weekend when this happened. Here's an alley-oop against the Sixers from Saturday.
Wow,
the NBA is better with John Morant in it. I'm sorry for the guys caught out on this alley-oop, but I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
So fun.
No doubt about it.
Look
This
at him.
kid is one of the most exciting players in the league, hands down.
I'm so jealous of guys like that, man. They can just fly through the air.
I remember you had that.
Not that easy. That's just simple for him. The things he can do is amazing.
Amazing.
Of the 3 people on the set right now, Robert, you were the one with the hop.
You might got me though, right?
Time to run it back to the best point guard alley-oops ever. Number 5, 2012, John Wall on Baron Davis. Take a look. Just take that, please. A little fun.
Hey, BD, I did not tell him to do that, BD. It's neighborhood with us, man.
We love Baron,
come on, Baron. I wouldn't do that to you.
Baron has got a lot of people in
Number
return.
4,
Baron got a lot of people.
D Rose versus the Hawks.
Could he fly?
Pre-knee surgery, D Rose.
Oh, man. I love watching those when
Sight
it's
to
against somebody
behold.
else.
A young, healthy D Rose is probably one of the best point guards you will ever see. Oh my God, we hate all the injuries happen.
Number 3, 2000, Stevie franchise, Mr. Maryland against the Sonics.
Oh, come on. Oh, come on, Stevie
Shout out
franchise.
Sonics, we miss you.
We do miss the Sonics big time. Come back soon.
Come on,
back
Seattle.
soon,
We
that's
got to
right.
get a team in Seattle.
Number 2, 2012, KD to Russ.
Oh, man. Okay. Oh, I miss those 2 guys. They got 2 of them.
I
I guess
was gonna
it's just Kyrie now, right? It's Kyrie that's filling in now.
They got some of the band back
Wow.
together. How good was that? That was
How
like the
high.
crank. You got the whole
Goodness.
thing.
He
there.
does everything.
So mad when
Yes.
he comes.
Oh,
2001.
poor basket.
Our friend Steven Jackson,
Woo.
Stephon Marbury.
Steph can get up now.
Yes.
Steph has some moves.
Starberry
Look at
right
his hair.
there.
Oh, my.
Over the head.
Okay, Steph.
Back in the day. All right, here's what the feature we just watched. Thank you for joining us today. And look, I want to talk to you because no one has covered this better and more thoroughly than you. How has this past year of civil unrest in this country changed the NBA?
Well, I think what we learned from the players is there's strength in numbers. You know, Rachel, you were with me in the bubble and seeing those social justice jerseys and Black Lives Matter on the court, seeing the 3-day revolution in which the players decided not to play. And that allowed most of the NBA arenas to be turned into polling stations that I think definitely had an impact on the election, certainly in Georgia. I mean, they certainly show that they have strength, and I hope the players don't forget to use that strength, whether it's for getting more GMs or more coaches. And then also, you know, now we're seeing with the Memphis Grizzlies, I think in terms of honoring MLK, no one has done it better for them. They've had a symposium and a celebration for 19 years now that I've been blessed to be a part of. I got to interview Jaren Jackson this time around, and he's been really, really big on voting, and I expect him to be in the future. I also, during this time, during those visits, had a chance to go to the National Civil Rights Museum, which if you haven't been, it's certainly
It's
a
amazing.
very impactful place. And the one thing that stood out to me, of all the things that have stood out to me, is towards the entrance, you see from global impact slavery had from 1619 to 1861, and a depiction of what it was like for Africans to be basically squeezed to the bottom of these slave ships and brought to the Americas.
Yeah. You know, the thing about when we watch these athletes and we watch this day, we have to remember it's not just today. Mm-hmm. It's every day in the black community for these people to see what's going on and to recognize the unjust and to try to even the playing field, so to say. And I love the fact that these players now have the platform to speak their mind, to say what they want to say, because when we played, we wanted to say stuff, but we were a little too afraid to say something because
Yeah.
you could get blackballed and you could
Yep.
not play, and you wanted to provide for your family so you have a better future. But now these guys, they're stepping up and saying, we don't care. We're going to use our platform because now you see it. There's a magnifying glass on us. So now when you say something bad, they're going to see it. We say something good, they're going to see it. So when I say there, that means the people of the world because of social media. And it's such a great feeling for me to watch each and every guy in the NBA step up and try to have a voice and try to say, hey, yeah, this is wrong, this is right. And just to try to bring this world together, because right now we have a lot of issues with social justice, the COVID-19. So today is a proud day for me to see these people step up. And I got to say this, Atlanta, send me one of those jerseys. I love them, man. Send me a jersey.
They are nice.
There is no doubt. And look, things have changed, Robert, since you were playing in the league. First of all, the salaries endorsement money has gone up. So if you do get, quote, blackballed by one sponsor or one team that is not enlightened, you have other ways to take care of your family. But also, as Mark pointed out, strength in numbers, man. You had some of the biggest stars in the NBA when Dwayne Wade, Chris Paul, LeBron James, Carmelo Anthony stood up on that SB stage and said, we challenge all athletes out there. This is a priority to stand up for the people who are not being spoken for.
Right.
And I think that really unleashed an incredible sense of ownership from these young NBA players. We have an incredible crop of under 25 players in the NBA who do for their communities before they even do for themselves. Yep. And really, again, you have some of the elite players in the league taking a lead in it. In fact, Steven Jackson just let the cat out of the bag that Kyrie Irving has bought a house for the family of George Floyd.
Big time.
Floyd and Steven, of course, close friends growing up together in South Texas. Fizz, we've seen Kyrie be a leader. There's a lot going on with Kyrie Irving right now, but it should not escape anyone's attention. He has been a leader in this fight for social justice. And we've seen several other players step up. If you were advising some of the young players in the league, what do you think comes next for them? What can they do with this power that they now know they have?
Well, I think you just got to continue to utilize your platform to elevate the community's issues, right? And really start thinking about law changing, right? And start getting into what is the root of the problem. And the bottom line is, what everybody's asking for is, can we get to a basic set of laws that everyone can live by so that no one's dying unnecessarily? I mean, I don't think that's a big ask when you really think about it. And I think the players just have to continue to keep that pressure on with the connection to the community and pushing that forward and using their platform to do it. You know, I was in that situation in Memphis when it wasn't popular and we were trying to get down statues of Nathan Bedford Forrest and Jefferson Davis. And I was feeling like Robert said, should I do this?
Right.
Right.
It was your first head coaching job.
First head coaching job. I'm a young black coach. Will I suffer for this? Cap was just starting to kneel and stuff like that. And I had to do it because this is the home of Dr. King. And now you're starting to see corporate is getting behind these young people. And that's what's really pushing it over the hump, is that the corporate world is supporting our basketball guys and really starting to put pressure on all of these folks. Look at what happened with the Redskins.
Yep.
Right? That was a corporate push
Absolutely.
to change that name. And now what you're seeing is players are starting to recognize we got a lot of power here and they're using it the right way and they got to keep that pressure going.
Mark, what do you think is next for NBA players?
Well, I hope they keep the education going. To Fizz for what he did in Memphis and what he did in New York, from a justice standpoint. But, you know, I remember talking to a young star player, I'll just say that, last year, and asked him about Martin Luther King. And he said, you know, he really did a lot of good things. That he was an important American. And it crushed me to hear a young black man say that. So I think there needs to, I don't depend on the schools. There needs to be more education at home. I mean, all he learned about was MLK and Rosa Parks and Malcolm X when he was in school. But I implore the players and all parents to show their kids eyes on the prize, like my mom let me see in the San American Center, and see the movie Selma and read up on Martin Luther King and other civil rights leaders. Because there's just so much to learn that I don't think we should depend on the schools to teach.
Education reform. You hear Donovan Mitchell talking about it all the
Absolutely.
time. All right, Mark, you're going to stick with us. Coming up, we're going to look ahead to the nightcap of TNT's MLK Day triple header between the Lakers and Warriors.
James is going to be our starting center before too long. Clearly, he is our long-term starting center.
It feels good for Steve Kerr to introduce me as the starting center soon, because it just shows like how all the hard work I put in, like in a little time, like how I've been adapting and like just really fast. I love expectations. I love when people put pressure on me and stuff. I mean, I love studying film on those great players, but I just want to become the next James Wiseman and become my own image.
Welcome back to The Jump. I am joined by David Fizdale, Robert Horry, and Mark Spears. And that was a clip from James Wiseman's video diary with Mark and the Undefeated. So, Mark, do you think Wiseman is living up to expectations so far for the Warriors?
Oh, most definitely. And certainly these expectations are very, very high. You know, I interviewed him 2 years ago. He's the most impressive high school kid I've ever talked to. He speaks Mandarin. He wants to be a philanthropist. He wants to own fast food restaurants, and he has game. I saw it at the Hoop Summit practices that he was special. Before the draft, there was one scout told me that he was going to be a combination of David Robinson and Chris Bosh. High praise, which is going to probably be a Hall of Famer. And so far, so good. He seems to be getting better with every game. Draymond Green is in his ear, and he's listening. And he's an interesting raps, and he's got his F-150 coming to San Francisco soon to drive around instead of a Ferrari.
He can't fit in the Ferrari. You didn't think about when you talk about Wiseman. Everybody always want to talk about expectations. You know, what is the team's expectation? What is Kerr's expectations?
Right.
Because
Great point.
he needs to go out and then just play his game. He's playing with one is out, but three dynamic players who got rings. Who got all-star appearances. So he just needs to sit back and learn. I love the fact that he's going out and still doing his thing, because one of my favorite things is with Vernon Maxwell, you always used to tell me in my ear, do what you do. Do what got you here. And that's what he's doing. He's just going out and playing his game, not trying to be this guy or that guy, just being himself and doing what comes natural. And he's always, like they show here with Draymond, he's always going to Draymond, because why? Draymond is a defensive player. He knows the game, and he's one of the best at getting people involved. So Wiseman's learning from the best.
Yeah. These kids grow fast when they're surrounded with a bunch of talent. Like, no pressure is on him at all. And I think I was on the show probably 3 weeks ago, and we were talking about when Clay went down at the Warriors was done. A lot of people were writing them off, and a big reason why the Warriors are in the playoff conversation is because this kid right here. And this kid's going to keep moving faster and faster. He's bringing the ball up. He's crossing over guards. He's finishing with either hand. I watched one game. He's shooting threes. He is dynamic. You add that to the mix of what Golden State does and the championship pedigree, like you said, Draymond, defensive player of the year. Steph, MVP. He's learning from the best.
Yep, absolutely. All right, Mark, thank you so much for joining us today. We will see you again soon. Everyone else stick with us, because coming up, we're going to talk about the Clippers.
Way to get after him, guys. Good defense.
I want to get to the Clippers, everyone. The Clippers blew out the Pacers last night by 33 points. It was a balanced attack. 7 Clippers scored in double figures. Here's Marcus Morris and Paul George on the team's improved chemistry this year. Take a listen. This was really interesting.
I feel like our energy is way better this season. I think guys are buying in. Guys are, enjoying playing the game. And obviously, there's been a lot of talk about PG and, how he's feeling going into the season. And like I said last game, man, I'm excited to see how far he can take it.
Or it's a real bond, man. It's fun. But this team is locked in. We're together. It's one of the best locker rooms I've been around and been in. It's just hopefully you guys see it, just how well we're meshing, and we're gonna continue to build off that. We like where we're at and like where we're headed, and we want to see this thing play all the way through.
So, Robert, Marcus Morris also said last night, he said, we got in a room at the beginning of the season and we just got it all out and then put it behind us. Do you buy that the chemistry is as good as it looked last night and that these issues are behind them?
I'm still waiting on that. I'm still waiting on that, because it's always easy to say that and throw it out there in the universe and hope that it happens.
Right.
And everything is always good when there's no adversity. When some adversity smacks you in the face, how are you going to react? And we can have this. We're going to have this conversation after every 30-point win.
Right.
And guys are saying this because they're trying to make themselves believe this. And I think with Ty Lue there, and he's going to emphasize that a lot, and with PG starting to emphasize it and say, hey, I got to make up for what I did in the playoffs. And with Kawhi buying in and saying, oh, I'm going to play back-to-backs. I'm going to be here for you guys. That means a lot. People don't understand when you the 8th, 9th, 10th man, people think, oh, you need to go practice. No, we all need to practice so we can get this rapport and play together as a team. And I think with these guys starting to do that, they're buying in, and maybe this can carry over, and we can have a good playoff series from those two guys.
Yeah, it's a small sample size, obviously, and you want to drop kick the 50-pointer out the window, obviously. So you kick that one out.
Yep.
Overall, they're playing fantastic basketball. You got to admit that.
Right.
And
10-4.
Yeah, at the end of the day, that's what I'm looking at is how well are they winning and are they winning? And they're doing both. And so I think T. Lue's doing a heck of a job of getting guys to buy into the role. I think all of the noise about Paul George early on brought all those guys together. Yeah, it happens that way. It's the same when we got LeBron in Miami. You remember the ridicule he got? I mean, and so, but what it did for us is everybody in the locker room surrounded him, put their hands on him. And so I think that's what's happening with the Clippers right now.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, and let me tell you, Mook Morris, when he gets you to circle up in the locker room, it's real. It ain't going to be no BS. And you're going to hash it out. And once you walk out of that locker room, that's where it stays. And so I do think they're on the right track of getting it together. And the big test will be when they get squeezed in the playoffs.
It'll be interesting to see, but they are building. They look great last night. All right, guys, before we go, Bucks safety Mike Edwards had a game-sealing interception that helped send his team to the NFC East Championship last night. Had that nice sideline pick off the tip pass. Can we